Okay, let's talk about how to increase your conversion rates or your close rate. So again, I just want to remind you, obviously you need to be tracking to know what your close rate is. So closing percentage is here. And we have obviously all of your sales stats tracked here as well. So this is why it's so important to be using your SOP sales tracker, because if we don't know these numbers, then we don't know how to improve or get better. So that is the baseline. If we don't have our metrics being tracked and you're not on top of it, you're going to feel like you have no control over how to fix it. If your conversion rates dip or slump, or if you just simply want to increase your conversion or close rate. So when I say conversion rate, it is the same thing as close rate, just to be clear. So the objective here is to learn how to identify what's really impacting your conversion rates, strengthen the discovery portion of your calls, and implement repeatable systems that increase conversions, whether you're closing yourself or leading a sales team. So increasing conversion rates isn't just about selling better. It's about aligning every part of your business to make the buying decision feel really natural. So your conversion rate reflects how well every system, your offer, audience messaging, and nurture process works together. So before we optimize the call itself, remember, sales performance is a mirror of the entire business. I know I've said this a lot, but it's so important because people try to fix, a sales problem when really it's a messaging problem or a leads problem or an ICA problem, and that is just a losing battle. So this lesson will help you identify where conversion rates are breaking down on or before the call, strengthen your discovery process to make the yes organic and aligned, and adjust your strategy based on lead temperature, whether they are cold, warm, or hot. So part one is where conversion rates really come from. Your conversion rate doesn't start on the sales call. It actually starts in your entire ecosystem as a business. Here's the reminder. If conversions are low, it actually might not be your sales skills. So it very well could be, the offer, the transformation isn't clearly positioned or feels mismatched to the problem, your ICA, you're attracting people who want different outcomes, messaging, the language in your content isn't resonating with the right stage of awareness, marketing, so traffic sources aren't warming people up before they book, or lead nurture, so prospects don't have enough proof or context before the call. Your sales system cannot fix upstream gaps. It only reveals them, which is not a bad thing. If you figure it out and you know it's not necessarily a sales issue and it's something upstream, that just means you just go back to that pillar and you make those optimizations. So understanding lead temperature, not all leads are created equal, as much as I wish they were. And your close rate will always reflect the temperature of your leads. And this actually also very much so helps you temper your own expectations when you understand the difference between the three. So cold leads means they found you recently, potentially. They have low trust and they have minimal nurture. So the expected conversion for a cold lead is a lot lower, and the timeline for them to become an actual client is longer. So the sales cycle to go from cold lead to close tends to be longer. So the approach is focus on education and trust building through really, really, really solid discovery process, and create follow-up cycles for these kinds of leads, because if you don't, you're going to miss out and they're just gonna move on to the next thing. Warm leads, they've consumed some content, maybe downloaded lead magnet and engaged a little bit before booking. So the expected conversion for them is generally moderate. And I don't want to use this as an excuse, because we have had cold leads close on a first call and warm leads close on a first call, but this is kind of a general guide to go off of. So the approach with them is to guide decisively, use proof and connection to accelerate trust, okay? Hot leads, they already know, like, and trust you. They could be YouTube subscribers, referrals from clients or friends, etc. And they could be VSL or webinar viewers. Their expected conversion rate is higher. So you want to go deep fast, confirm alignment, remove friction, and close naturally. Okay, so why this matters. Your conversion targets should adjust by the lead type. So cold leads generally need longer sales cycles. I did say there are exceptions to that. Hot leads tend to close faster. That's why consistent messaging and nurture systems, so YouTube, email, lead magnets, VSLs, webinars, are non-negotiable. They pre-sell for you. So part 3 is the discovery depth framework. Your discovery process is the single most important factor in increasing conversions. Rushing through it kills momentum. Slowing down builds belief. So a thoughtful discovery helps the prospect illuminate their own pain and desire when they feel the gap. So the solution becomes obvious and the sale becomes organic. One of our highest performing clients actually shared that this is an interesting tactic. So take it or leave it, but he actually shared that and he scaled to well past $100,000 months with his offer, he created a Typeform version of his sales script so that it forced his sales rep to go one question at a time without skipping ahead to ensure questions aren't skipped and the discovery process isn't rushed. So that's one way to look at this. And that also really illustrates to you why this discovery process is so important. So the discovery depth framework, these 5 steps are behind the discovery process inside of the SOP sales script. So you have the script here. You obviously have the entire discovery section laid out, as you know. And we go into the current situation questions, we go into depth questions, desired situation, and additional depth questions, and then transitioning. Having said that, there is always room for what is called Socratic questioning, which really allows people to go deep for themselves and answer in depth for themselves without you necessarily talking for them. That is not something you want to do on a sales call. You want the lead to do most of the talking because that allows them to illuminate for themselves why this makes so much sense for them and why they need this. The more you talk, the less they actually will be aware enough to make a buying decision. Okay? So your job is to really guide and ask good questions. So what we really want to go through is, okay, what's the present situation? So of course, if you look at this SOP sales script, we start with the current situation. It's a present situation. And we have these questions in here. This is just kind of an additional question you could think through. So walk me through what a typical day looks like for you right now. So you can add that into your repertoire of questions that you have in here. Okay? The problem, what's not working, is where do you feel most stuck or frustrated? So that is really, inside of the current situation as well. What is the problem? So considering you're still struggling with but the process didn't work for you specifically, have you tried anything else to fix this? What's your plan if nothing changes? But this is just a really simple question that you could even add right off the bat. So from there, the pain. What's the cost of staying here? How is this affecting your time, energy, income, or relationships? And there is a question very similar to this. So it's kind of aligned with this question and this question, but this is just asked in simpler terms. So you could just say something simple like, how is this affecting your time, energy, income, and relationships? And you could add that as a ending question to the current situation because that's going to help them illuminate the pain for themselves. Possibility. What would an ideal outcome look like for this? So if we fix this, how would that change things for you? And again, you don't have to use these exact questions. And I am saying this is already in the SOP sales script. This is just giving you some other ideas of how to do this or some other questions that you can ask. So let's go back to this. If we fix this, what would change for you? So that can go under the desired situation. Okay. Then the path. So are you ready to take ownership? Why now? Why not wait another month, 3 months? This is so important to ask. And we kind of talk about this in the current situation. So you're in a place to actually look and invest, etc. So you could add this question in there. Why not? Why now? Why not wait another 3 months? Or you could sprinkle it in somewhere else where it makes a lot of sense. But I think the biggest thing to take from this discovery framework is how this is laid out in the SOP sales script is it takes you through the structure of the present situation, the current challenge, the problem that they're facing, the pain of that problem, the possibility of what they want to create, and really illuminating that for them, and then the path forward. And most importantly, not telling them what the path forward is in discovery and not sort of saying, well, if you fix this, now this will help you do X, Y, and Z. That's not helpful. Having them say for themselves, this is why I need to do this now. Do you see the difference? So it's them taking accountability for their change, which brings you way better clients. Because if people take accountability at this stage, then they're going to get in, be invested, and do the work. Okay, so that just shows you kind of the framework of discovery and why it is so important. So these questions help the client see the gap between where they are now and where they want to be and position your offer as the natural bridge. The biggest thing with the sales script is you need to stick to the process. So you have to start with where they are now and ultimately where they want to be. And then that allows you to transition naturally into the pitch. But if we don't do that properly, we're simply just going right into a sell. And that feels really inauthentic for both sides. And it doesn't actually make any sense because the person's gonna be like, well, why would I even need this? So if you ever get people saying to you, I don't really get it, or I don't know why I would need this, or I just don't know if this is right for me, it means you probably haven't gone deep enough on discovery, and you probably haven't listened more than you talked. Okay? So what actually improves conversion rates? Internal versus external motivation. I cannot tell you how important this is. Conversion rates do not increase by forcing the sale, being pushy, or being unauthentic. In fact, using external pressure to close the sale will only lead to unhappy, uncommitted clients who are inevitably going to cause problems and want refunds. Conversion rates increase when the lead feels understood and truly understands the value for themselves by being guided through a series of thoughtful questions, which, as you know, are already included in your SOP sales script. So improving conversion rates on the call. Once you've mastered discovery, improving conversions is about refining tone, pacing, and clarity. So you want to stay in curiosity longer. Do not rush to pitch. Please, that will crush your conversion rate. The deeper you go, the less selling you need to do, okay? Because they will sell themselves. Mirror, don't manufacture pain. Reflect what they say in their own words and don't exaggerate or dramatize it. Confirm alignment. Ask, based on everything you shared, does this sound like the right next step for you? And close with calm confidence. So clarity beats hype, confidence beats pressure. Now, part 5, scaling conversion improvements with a team. When you eventually hire a sales rep, your systems, not your personality, must drive conversions. There is a big difference when you are the founder selling because people are very bought into you, so it naturally creates a higher conversion rate. So you really want your team to be able to outsell you because that proves to you there's a system, it's not built on you as a person. So you want to build consistency by tracking conversion rate by rep and lead source, obviously. And you can use your SOP sales tracker and you can just duplicate it by rep. Having every rep use the same discovery depth framework, which is obviously already included in your SOP sales script, but if you want to remind them of sort of the structure of it, you can bring them to this lesson and you can share why we do what we do. So what's happening now, what's not working, the cost of staying there, the possibility of what the outcome will look like for them, and the path for them to take ownership, okay? Review calls using the sales call practice partner and by listening to at least one call per rep each day to ensure they are going deep enough on discovery. I'm telling you, if you just focus on this one thing, it will probably be the first fix to increasing your conversion rates. Lack of depth on discovery is probably the number one cause of a low conversion rate. So using your SOP sales tracker to spot early warning signs of slump patterns is also really important. And again, that's why whether it's you or you bring on reps, you need to be tracking, whether that's in a CRM, which we'll talk about later, or in something like a sales tracker. And we actually truthfully use both. We have a spreadsheet and we also have our CRM set up. Okay, so talking about the sales call practice partner, I just wanted to show you here. I have a transcript of a call that was a good lead. So they were a perfect fit lead. So it wasn't an ICA or a messaging problem, but they didn't close. So I'm just gonna pop this in here and then it's gonna break down the call for me. So this was a warm discovery call with a busy mom feeling overwhelmed by home life. The coach built strong emotional rapport, uncovered deep pain and desire, and introduced a 12-week program called the Reset Method. The client resonated with the solution but hesitated due to timing concerns. The coach offered to send a schedule and client stories, ending with a soft follow-up for the next day, but the call did not close. Overall assessment. This was a well-executed discovery call with emotional depth and clear articulation of the offer. However, it lacked urgency and a stronger close. The coach held space beautifully, but missed a few subtle opportunities to secure a firm next step or reframe the timing objective more decisively. So the discovery breakdown, and this is based on the 7 beliefs framework of what needs to be covered inside of a call in order for someone to feel comfortable enough to make the decision to close. So pain. So yes, clear emotional logistical pain. The client is overwhelmed, constantly tidying without lasting change. Desire, strongly expressed. She wants a calm, light home. Doubt. Doubt is not about the program. It's actually about herself. I don't want to start something and not follow through. That is, if somebody says that line to you, it has nothing to do with the program. It's everything to do with them and you want to dig into it. No direct financial objection. The hesitation centered on time and energy. Timing was the main objection. I'm still getting into rhythm. Not sure if it's the right time. Classic, almost ready prospect. Trust solution, high trust. She said, it sounds like what I've been needing. She trusts the coach and likes the program structure and support. She expressed fear of dropping the ball and wanted clarity on weekly commitment. The coach handled this well by offering a sample schedule and real client stories. So the pitch was simple, clear, and emotionally resonant. The coach presented the structure, the benefit, calm without adding more, and positioned the program as a system, not just support. They effectively tied the pitch to the client's specific frustrations and goals. Close evaluation. The close was gentle and consent-based, but too soft. The coach made a strong emotional case. You're not missing a magic moment. Decide to make it easier now, but didn't cover that into a decision point. Didn't convert that into a decision point. So the follow-up offer, look it over and decide tomorrow, lacked urgency or a clear commitment mechanism. It was more of a hopeful handoff than a confident close. So what I liked, this is great. What needs work? Missed opportunity, not right time, into this is the right time because it's hard, and that's why structure matters now. Could have used a more temperature checking language before the close. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how ready are you to begin? So this is where that can fit in. You have a couple questions that really drill down why they would feel aligned, and this is deeply important, okay? So important. And you can add in the question of, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would need the exact verbiage that it gave. On a scale of 1 to 10, how ready are you to begin? You can add that into the temperature check because that's going to tell you if there's hesitancy before you move into any other steps, okay? No explicit invitation to enroll. So a stronger close might have included, if it feels right tomorrow, would you like me to save your spot? Something like that. So a few coaching recommendations here: strengthen closing confidence. So match your warmth with a more decisive invitation to commit. Reframe timing objections more proactively. So connect the current challenge to the urgency of starting now, and use commitment language. So ask permission to hold a spot, offer a 24-hour decision window, or guide to a low pressure yes or no. Ultimately, you can also very much so, this person was a great lead, they didn't close now. This becomes a hot lead list, as we've talked about. So this would go on your hot list because this person is a great fit. The only thing that came up was the timing. I do think it could have been navigated on this call based on the feedback here. But if it isn't, there's no way the close is going to happen on the first call. That's okay. Follow-ups are there for that reason. So ensure that you actually schedule it and get it on the calendar. Don't just let it sort of like sit and not happen. And if it does, you need to be on top of nurturing them with case studies, client results, new content that you've shared that would be valuable to them, and tell them exactly why it is. So following up and building that relationship. So the summary here is, it was a highly empathetic, emotionally intelligent call with a warm, trusting lead. The coach did everything right in discovery and resonance, but needed a stronger enrollment language to convert a high potential prospect. Cool. So I think the biggest thing here is it was too soft of a close. So you're not missing a magic moment. Decide to make it easier now. We need to convert that into a decision point. So the follow-up offer, look it over and decide tomorrow, lacked urgency or clear commitment. So I think the thing that's most important is the reframe of not the right time, which is going to come up, into this is the right time because it's hard. And that's why structure matters now. So you could even ask a question of, so what do you think is going to make this easier right now? If it feels like it's not the right time because it's difficult right now, what's the path to make it easier? And then they're going to go, oh, right, I don't have a path and I don't have a structure. So there's just some really simple questions you can use there. So this is going to help you really audit your own calls, as we mentioned, and others if you decide to bring on reps. Okay. And of course, we've talked about using the SOP sales tracker to track the data, because if we don't have data, we have no idea how to improve. So you're pretty screwed if you don't track the data. If I haven't said that 9 million times, and all of us haven't said that 9 million times already in Basecamp. So increasing conversions isn't about becoming a better closer. It really is about becoming a better listener, leader, and diagnostician. When your discovery is deep, your messaging is clear, and your systems are consistent, sales become simple, scalable, and truly repeatable. Of course, there's always going to be the need for follow-ups and pipelines and all of these things. But if you want to increase your conversion rates on the call, it really is about doing a deeper discovery and being able to navigate that into them really selling themselves, not you having to sell them. So the action step here is be sure to track your conversion rates inside of, which is your close rates, just to be clear. Close rate right here, closing percentage is your conversion rate. And if you don't know the data, you don't know how to improve. I will say it again. All right, I'll see you in the next one.